A wise man once told me a very simple life principle. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Don't make aspects of your life over-complex, which can make things a little bit more difficult long term. Can something simple like keeping our homes warm or heating our water for long periods of time, reducing our carbon footprint, have we overcomplicated things? The question I've got is, if I'm going to retrofit something in my house and remove my gas to reduce my carbon footprint, is the solution an air source heat pump? Let's go through this. I'm going to go through the negatives, which are all open to debate. I'd like to make a few points, which I think are short-term issues, long-term issues, potential positives that perhaps we all forget, and all of these points should influence your decision if you're looking at removing a gas boiler from your house and going to an air source heat pump. My issues with air source heat pumps, short-term. Point number 1, homeowner education. The UK market currently has around 10 brands to choose from, all of which with different controls, different functions, and a large variety of information out there with tips and tricks to get yourself really efficient. Unless you're a keen learner, have the time, or extremely tech savvy, or live on a Facebook forum, making changes will inevitably mean calling your installer or previous contractor, which could cost you between £50 to £350. My issues with air source heat pumps, short term. Point 2. Third-party controls. Most systems work very well with third-party controls. Inevitably, you're probably going to have a third-party control. Underfloor heating, radiators, smart tank controls. These are all examples which could be controlling your air source heat pump. In my opinion, the challenge becomes when the house is sold and you inherit an air source heat pump and you have no idea how this works, you're inevitably paying somebody to come out to tell you how to use it. My issues with air source heat pump, short term, point number 3. Setting up and controls for maximum efficiency. There still seems to be a lot of speculation out there about the different ways air source heat pumps should be installed, what's current, what's best, what's not best. You're really putting your trust into the installer on how efficient a product can be. Some people say manufacturers aren't given the best designs to design air source heat pumps and that there are better ways of installing them to get maximum efficiency. I say, well, that's true, and there is always a better way of doing things. However, this is such a vast area that if you are going to have an air source heat pump designed specifically to be super efficient a different way, there is going to be a lack of knowledge to pass down to a new homeowner. My issues with air source heat pumps, point number 4. The energy market is one of the best stocks at the moment out there. As we know, some of the organisations are making huge profits. Look at the news, get Googling. Is getting everybody off grid onto the electricity grid really a smart move for a homeowner? Control is probably the word that I would mention, and I will just leave that point there. My issues with air source heat pumps, long term. Point number 1, life cycle of equipment. If you get Googling on how long an air source heat pump will last, you will get 15 to 20 years. I'm sorry, folks. It's a lie. I've been in the air conditioning industry for 15 years. I've got many air conditioning friends. And if I was to say to you, or somebody was to say to me, how often do we come across an air conditioning unit which is over 15 years old? And I would say 2 in 1,000. An air source heat pump, in my opinion, will last between 5 to 12 years. 12 years with minor use, and I'd say 8 years to be conservative. My statement is based on 15 years experience in the aircon industry. It's an opinion and it's factual. An air conditioning unit is no different, same components, to an outdoor air source heat pump. Just think about it. My issue with air source heat pumps long term, point number 2, Parts in the air conditioning industry are typically held for 10 years. Brackets, if we're lucky, close brackets. What does this mean if you have an air source heat pump? Well, what it'll mean is in 10 years' time, the likelihood is, if you have an issue with the outdoor unit, you will need to replace the condenser and the internal controls. This is going to be a full replacement. I'm sorry, but this is what's been happening in our industry for a long time, and it's just the way life goes. Back to point 1, 15 to 20 years? My issue with air source heat pumps long term, point number 3. If your outdoor unit does eventually fail, you will need a full internal control PCB. Why? Because if we have an air conditioning unit that fails which is over 10 years old, we cannot connect it to a brand new indoor wall mount. Is your air source heat pump provider telling you this? My issues with air source heat pumps, long term, point number 4. If an air conditioning unit lasts for 15 to 20 years, 2 in 1,000, with limited use, with good maintenance, meaning you're very lucky, a few snappy pros of having an air source heat pump installed in your home. Number 1, running costs are fantastic. 3-6 COPs for every kilowatt that goes in. You get between 3 to 6 kilowatts out of heat. That's fantastic if it's set up correctly. In the winter, your COPs are going to drop, but in the autumn, maybe the spring, maybe the summer, you can get up to 600% efficiency. Well, everyone seems to have their own interpretation, and in my opinion, renewable energy means living in a society where people don't lose land, animals don't die, and the air is clear of pollution. It's not about temperature for me. I think there's enough information out there that says you can spend billions and billions and billions and it will drop the temperature of the earth by a degree. I'm in the side which says there's statistics out there that says the earth isn't as bad as we're told, and that there is a form of regulation on this planet. But to me, renewable energy is more of a mindset. Don't be greedy, and to live in a cleaner way. Good question. If you want the most efficient air source heat pump, you're going to have to pay for it. However, an efficient air source heat pump, which has been installed by someone that has spent most of their training half asleep or on their mobile phone on Facebook, will inevitably mean your fantastic, efficient air source heat pump is not efficient, and it will cost you more and more and more. Get a trusted installer. Good question. And I can't answer that because I don't have the most efficient air source heat pump over a 7 to 10 year lifespan. And the problem is, people are answering this question when their products aren't even 5 years old. Great question. Currently, we generate electricity by nuclear, renewable, burning lots of coal. If somebody was to come out with a hydrogen turbine, which was to produce electricity, I think, yes, it would help reduce the CO2 in a massive way. However, China is burning coal in the billions per year. It's a question I can't answer, but this is a huge valid point to basically coming off grid, reducing our carbon footprint, and reducing pollution. However, my point is this: what is the cost and what is the pollution to produce these hydrogen turbines?